Val here on MMA Oddsmaker. UFC Fight Night. I don't even know the number anymore. I apologize. Like, there's just so many of these fights now. Got to be honest, Nick. It's after last weekend. You can't really catch it. So unfortunately, Pettis, Moreno, and Markos and Grasso, they're going to get swept underneath the rug. Let's not forget also, this is really the last stop before they go to the Mayweather and McGregor fight. So this card is really getting kind of disrespected in the sense of, like, no one's really talking about it. There's really not that much hype behind it. But it's also a situation where, the card isn't all that good either, and is the problem. You know, it's like it's difficult to have great cards all the time. Do you think that they're trying to spend too much time? When I say they, I'm talking about the UFC. Do you think they're spending too much time now at this point trying to promote the Mayweather-McGregor fight than they are spending on trying to promote their own fights because of, we all know the dollar amount that's coming out of these things and how much they can actually make on a Mayweather fight?
Probably. I know Dana White, that's his focus probably right now is, they're shifting gears, definitely heading towards that Mayweather-McGregor fight. And, who knows what their plans are, but we definitely have a little bit of a downtime here after this event. And if you look at this event from top to bottom, as you just mentioned, it's not very stacked. I mean, it is one of the weaker cards of the year. It's going to be a fun card, though. I mean, a lot of times those fight night cards are pretty fun. You know what I mean? Even though there's not high caliber, high star power names on the card from top to bottom, they still end up being okay. So there's a lot of Latin American guys on here that are, and they're up and coming fighters and that sort of thing as well. So yeah, it's not a very stacked card, but it should be okay. Fun. But yeah, you're right. I think their attention is elsewhere right now. It's definitely on Mayweather McGregor.
And there's a couple guys in here fighting for their careers in Rashad Evans and Sam Alvey, who's his opponent, trying to prove that he's worth still being in, being on the top end and trying to work his way up. And Rashad's trying to prove he hasn't fallen off. And Alan Joe Bain, is fighting Price. Like, Alan Joe Bain's trying to make his mark that, hey, I'm not just another pretty face. I can actually make this. And the reason why I say he's just not another pretty face because he is a model. For most people that forget, he does a lot of modeling on the side, which makes him one of those guys like, just go to modeling full time. You don't get hit as much. But he loves fighting. And these guys are trying to fight for their spaces. But let's talk about Markos and Grasso. Like, this is number 9 versus unranked. Obviously, Grasso is Mexican. It's in Mexico City. It makes sense. She's from Mexico. It makes sense to have her on the card. You got to help me out here with this one. Is she worthy enough of being on a co-main event, or are they really just trying to promote all the fighters in Mexico to Mexico, trying to make it a bigger venue for the UFC?
A little bit of both. I mean, Grasso, before she made her UFC debut and lost to Herrig, she was a really popular fighter for Invicta. So she had a fan base already. I mean, a lot of people were expecting good things from her when she made the transition over to the UFC. So there's been buzz around her for a while. So she is a very popular female fighter that the fan base is already getting behind. So, but I'm not sure if her skill level is kind of up to where her fan level is. You know what I mean? I think she's got more fan base than she does actually skill. Now, that's not saying that she's bad because she definitely has some potential. Her striking is decent. She's got decent takedown defense. So she's becoming a little bit more well-rounded. She definitely needs to work on her ground game a little bit more and her takedown defense. Even though it's solid, it still needs a little bit of improvement. But overall, she's basically your striking-based fighter that tries to keep the fight upright and beats people on the feet. But the problem is, at times, she's not very aggressive on the feet. So even though you see the potential, I mean, she's still flawed when it comes to a lot of those things. But she's popular. I mean, they want her on this card for sure. And they're trying to give her a marquee win because beating a name like Markos, I mean, Markos has established herself in the UFC for sure. She's one of the best fighters, I mean, in the 115-pound division. So right now, though, she's in that kind of gatekeeper role, right? So if you beat Markos, I mean, you're probably on your way towards a title shot, you know what I mean? Or they're going to work you up the ladder. So that's how a good win over Markos would be for even a girl like Grasso. She needs to bounce back because, again, she got let down. I mean, the UFC got let down a little bit by her debut loss. A lot of people weren't expecting Herrig to beat her. And you know how popular Felipe Herrig is. Yeah. I mean, she's a rare fighter. So, I mean, Grasso kind of trumps that a little bit. And she just had a disappointing performance. So they're feeding her a fighter that they think she could probably keep upright and beat on the feet. But I don't know, man. I'll tell you what, I think Markos is ahead of her right now. Yeah. She's coming off a win over Esparza. And you know how good Carla Esparza is. I mean, she's not an easy out at all. So Markos is that kind of level. I mean, she's capable of beating great fighters on a great day for her. She's had some of those performances. So The only question mark for me with Markos is she has to be more consistent. One fight you see her show up like Carla Esparza and look really good. And the next fight, it's a letdown. She looks terrible and loses. So, I mean, up and down, it's been for Markos for a while now. I wish she'd get a little bit more consistent, but this is going to be a tough fight for Grasso for sure. That's why I should mention the odds real quick. I know I've been talking a lot, but it's Grasso minus 160. She's a favorite, and Markos is at plus 140. And Markos has the real-time UFC experience. She's kind of the veteran, and she's an underdog still at this point.
So just quick stab at it. I got to bet the underdog at this one, and otherwise I'm going to pass on it entirely. That's my feeling. What do you say?
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, I understand the setup, though. I mean, they're trying to get Grasso a win over, like I said, an established gatekeeper basically here, but I don't know if it's going to work out. I think if Markos shows back up again, like she has been a little bit, like if we see the good Markos, put it that way, the good Markos is going to beat Grasso, even on Grasso's day. But, I mean, my problem with Markos also is from time to time her cardio and her conditioning seems a little iffy. Yeah. So as a fight is, I mean, she does get tired. And this, we all know, elevation, Mexico City. I mean, we've seen Cain Velasquez, how bad he suffered in his fight against Verdum in Mexico City. So that is a concern for some of these fighters here. And it is a concern in the back of my mind for Markos a little bit as well. But, I mean, she's the better fighter right now. So at plus 140, there's definitely some value with her here. Now, probably hits the scorecards. It's in Mexico, Mexican fighter. So I don't know. I mean, we might get beat by favoritism because it's going to be a pretty close fight. But I still think that Markos is a play. Or you don't lay the juice against her. You don't lay the chalk, put it that way. So it is a dog or pass situation. I know some people might be getting sick of us saying that, but look how many times we come through with it.
Yeah.
And it's not always bet the underdog, bet the underdog, bet the underdog. That's not the case at all. But it depends on the matchups. And right now, this matchup, to me, the underdogs are getting underestimated just a little bit too much here. And I think that there is some value at plus 140.
And this is just for the folks at home. When I talked to Sam Alvey, whose interview you can also see here on MMA Oddsbreaker, he was talking about Rashad Evans went 2 weeks early to Mexico City, and Sam's comment was, being 2 weeks in high altitude is not enough time to acclimate. What's going to happen is it's just going to make you sicker. And I forgot that Mexico City is like the second or third most polluted city in the world. It's super high altitude and super polluted. So now you're dealing with a lack of oxygen, and then you're dealing with a lack of oxygen. So it's really a ball game that gets run. And Cain said the same thing when he fought Verdum. Afterwards, he lost, and he wasn't making excuses. But he's like, I should have worn a mask the entire time I was out because the pollution is so bad, it just clogs your lungs. And so a guy like Rashad has been up there for 2 weeks before the fight. It's got all that time of inhaling all that pollution. It can't be good for you. Markos's cardio has always been an issue for her, and I think it's more pressure and dealing with being in the UFC than it actually is. She's not training or she doesn't have good cardio shape. I believe she has good cardio shape. It's just the anxiety and the adrenaline dump is what affects her, and that makes it even worse. Now add into the fact that, hey, this is also a polluted city, makes it even more difficult. But with everything I'm looking at, with everything going on, everything you just said, I still got to think that Markos is going to win this fight. It is a real thing inside that cage. When they're telling you, hey, okay, are you ready to fight? And you start this battle, it's real-time experience is really what makes a difference. And I just don't think Grasso has it right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that Markos does have it. Anywhere the fight takes place, Markos is going to be okay. Again, Grasso is a striker, so she might have a little bit of an edge on the feet. But truthfully, I think Markos is going to land some hard punches too. She might be the harder puncher of the two. Like she's going to, moves around well. She could land that bomb from time to time as well. So I think even if it stays upright, she'll be game. She'll be close. It'll be competitive on the feet. But what separates the two is definitely Markos's ground game. Her ability to take the fight to the ground. And then once she's on the ground, she has pretty slick submissions as well. So I think she's above Grasso on the ground. And on the feet, it's really almost a coin flip type of fight, even though on paper you would favor Grasso. I still think it's going to be ultra competitive. So a coin flip type of fight with some advantages going to the underdog. Yeah, I agree with you. Even if Markos, again, I am a little hesitant because of, like you just said, the elevation, all the factors that come into play here a little bit, and how she's been up and down in her career. But I think Grasso kind of needs to prove to us that she can get a win like this. And she hasn't done that yet, at least in my opinion. She's had some solid wins in Invicta, but this is UFC. Like you just said, the pressure, everything kind of built up here. And it's almost, it's her second fight in for Grasso, and it's almost kind of a must win. I don't think the UFC is going to cut her if she loses.
Right.
I think she's third fight. But, if she wants to really climb that ladder, she's got to get this win because she's going to have a big setback if not.
If she loses to Markos, she's now going to be the bottom 20, the bottom 30, and that is just a rough spot to be in. It's almost like an afterthought to get fights. Like it's like, oh yeah, we got one more hole to fill. Oh yeah, Grasso hasn't fought in a while. Let's put her in. Let's figure out her opponent and not really care what happens. And to go from a fight night co-main event, if she loses this fight, she will now be on a Fight Pass prelim or an early prelim card on any card. It doesn't matter which one it is. Like she's gonna be off TV, almost the off TV card, which is difficult to go from. Hey, I was a co-main event. Now I'm blown off. Like this is really bad. So bottom line is though, I'm taking Markos as a dog or pass. Nick says the exact same thing with Grasso. It's going to be a great fight either way because this fight will go all 3 rounds. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing pans together. Let's move on to the main event. This one I'm having the same issue with. You know, even though it is 6 versus 7, Sergio Pettis is 6, Brandon Moreno is 7. It's still a lot closer. But I'm having a hard time getting super excited about the fight. I'm always excited to see a Pettis fight. I don't care if it's Sergio or Anthony. I love to watch the Pettis brothers fight. So I'm excited about Pettis fighting. But this matchup just doesn't really do it for me. Can you help sell me on this fight a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I do like the matchup in a way. I mean, these two are two of the best flyweights in the world right now for sure. I mean, you know, the funny thing is about Sergio Pettis, he's so underrated, it's sickening. And I can't believe I'm saying that's about any Pettis brother because you know how much hype they get. Yeah. But really, if you look at it, he probably should have had a title shot already. I mean, in the flyweight division. The guy's put together some really good wins. And the 2 losses that he had in his career were come from behind wins for his opponents. I mean, it's crazy because he was winning the Benoit fight and he got caught. You know, he got rocked. He was winning the Caceres fight as well. He was on his way, you know, and then he got beat late in that fight. So this kid could be undefeated in the UFC, and he's faced a lot of good fighters. That's how good Sergio Pettis is. And, you know, a little while back, which is the better Pettis brother? Everybody would have said, oh, it's not even close. Anthony Pettis is. Man, I'll tell you what, right now it's Sergio.
Yeah.
Sergio Pettis is the better of the Pettis brothers. And he's actually, you can tell he's filling into his frame a little bit better as he's getting, you know, a little bit older. I can't believe he's still making a weight cut, honestly, because I know it's not an easy weight cut for him, but he is still making it, and he's just getting bigger, stronger, more experienced. I mean, faster, more explosive, everything across the board. And Duke Rufus is one heck of a trainer. He knows what he's doing for sure. I mean, they got a good camp out there. So Pettis is no joke at all. I mean, he's good everywhere the fight takes place. Then you have Moreno, which he got popular a little bit on the Ultimate Fighter, the tournament that actually had Tim Elliott come out of it as the winner, and he went on to fight Mighty Mouse, and he had a pretty good performance against Mighty Mouse. But Moreno had a really good performance. I mean, even the fight that he lost against Pantoja, that was a heck of a fight. So he comes out of the Ultimate Fighter opening some eyes. A lot of people were respecting Moreno from that. Even, like I said, despite him not making it to the finals on the show, he still performed really well. And then he comes in and just tears things up in the UFC. I mean, you know, he's been finishing opponents. He finished 2 out of his 3 fights. I mean, he's been really, really good, and he's finishing opponents quick. Look what he did to Dustin Ortiz. I mean, nobody beats Ortiz like he did. I mean, that was really impressive. So that's the type of fighter Moreno is. He's an aggressive young fighter that is getting better fight by fight, that has outstanding wrestling, probably underrated. People don't realize it, but he's got good takedowns. He's got a great submission game. His aggression on the feet works for him as well. So this is really a battle of 2 future title contenders. So I am kind of excited for it. It's a tough one to pick, though, man. I mean, even the odds indicate that it's under 2-1. Moreno's actually the favorite. He's minus 170. Yeah, minus 170 for Moreno, plus 150 for Pettis. That's how much respect he's gained so far. I mean, he goes out there and he blows out Smoka. Smoka is a very popular fighter. The guillotine choke that he got on Smoka. I mean, you know, you're in Hawaii. I mean, how good and how game Smoka is. I mean, not many people can finish him. Not Ortiz, but rather Moreno, I should say. Moreno finished him, right?
Yeah.
He finished Ortiz. Oh, but I'm saying, so he gets out there and he has an impressive performance against Smoka, finishes him, and then he backs that up with an impressive performance with the fight in between, of course. But then he has an impressive performance win over Ortiz with another submission, and nobody submits that guy either. So this guy has opened up some eyes. I mean, and he's a legit finisher. So this is an awesome fight. It's just not going to get the star power or that attention quite yet because these guys aren't, other than the diehard fans, I mean, these guys aren't household names yet, right? I mean, a Pettis name, maybe so a little bit because of Anthony Pettis and whatnot. But as far as, you know, I mean, the typical MMA fan, the casual MMA fan is not going to really know much about Moreno or about this Pettis. So I think that's why there's not a lot of buzz around it right now.
I'm definitely going to take a dog or pass on this one. I mean, because obviously it's Pettis. Like I said, I'm always excited to watch a Pettis fight. So and he's the underdog. I'm going to put a little stab at it. But now the deal is, though, the reason why I'm not super excited about this matchup, like I hear everything you're saying about both guys, I think Sergio Pettis' takedown defense is good enough to keep it on the feet the entire time, which is going to force Moreno to have to do a lot of defensive tactical boxing, which is going to slow the pace of the fight down. Which means now it's going to be a lot harder for the judges to score, obviously, because there's not going to be any big bang takedown. Oh, there's a quick guard pass, a couple submission attempts, which can make someone all of a sudden you have a decision to make as a judge. Oh, hey, I know for sure this guy won because he took him down and he was on top. Yeah, he didn't do that much damage, but he definitely controlled the fight. Now, if both guys are on their feet the entire time, which I kind of think this fight is going to happen, it's going to be very tactical. Now, I got to be honest with you. Last week with Tyron Woodley and Damon Maia, I loved that fight. That fight was a very technical fight, and I was counting. Every time Damon took a takedown and didn't get it, I started keeping record. I was like, this is amazing that Tyron was able to do that. It was a very exciting fight for me, but the fans hated it because they didn't think anything was really going on. The reality of it is, I think this fight is going to be the exact same fight. What's going to be super exciting for you and I, because we get what's actually happening, the footwork, the little jabs, the little head motions, the little shoulder rolls. It makes a big difference in tactics, and that's what we're looking at. I just think for the fans, it's going to be like, oh, it's not much is happening, really not much is going on. But let's not forget, at any moment, Moreno can submit or knock down. He's got heavy punching power to knock out Pettis. Pettis at any moment can also knock out, and most people are not paying attention to, Pettis has good submission game. He can also catch him. So there's going to be this whole thing of like, oh, it's about to happen. Oh, I can see it happen. Okay, we're back again. It's going to be almost like watching a proper football or a soccer match where it's like, oh, it's close. Nothing happened. Oh, it's close. Nothing happened. It will be a lot of that for all 5 rounds. It's going to be a lot of that for the whole time going on, just because both these guys are going to be in the championship game at some point. Within 2 or 3 fights, one of these guys will be fighting for the title. And when you're that good, you're that smart as well, and you have to do what you need to do to win. So I think this fight, even though there's going to be a lot of action going on, it's going to be boring action to everybody else at home. But you and I will be standing up, jumping around, and throwing stuff at the TV when stuff doesn't go right because we know what's going on.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And you know what? Going back to that Woodley-Maia fight, I agree with you there as well. I love that fight, man. I mean, a lot of people were knocking it. What a game plan and what a performance by Woodley. I credit the dude. How hard is it to do that against Damian Maia? I don't really think people understand. I mean, obviously the people in the news and other fighters, other, analysts, stuff like that, you can respect it. But a lot of people out there that kind of criticized him and all that, even Dana White, how could he not respect that? Don't
get me started. And then, of course, we saw Tyron's come out after it and like, look, apologize to me. I'm going to start running my mouth too. And it's becoming this whole pitter-pat back and forth thing. But I got to be honest with you. I'm a little irritated that they did put GSP and Bisping together. I don't understand why they put that together. I get if GSP came into welterweight and said, okay, I want a title shot, 100%. Best welterweight of all time. You got to put him in right away. Title shot makes sense. For him to move up and fight Bisping in a different weight class, a weight class he's never fought at, now all of a sudden it becomes a big deal. Like, and he gets the title shot right away. Like, I don't necessarily agree with that, which I've stated before, stay in the past. I definitely don't understand why Dana White is disrespecting Tyron so much. Like, he did a great job against a very tough, very tactical Damian Maia. I just don't get it sometimes how things come about. I just don't understand it. But believe me, I am watching that fight. I might talk bad about that fight. It's the same thing I'm saying about the McGregor-Mayweather fight. It's the dumbest fight I've ever seen. It does not make any sense to me. But I am watching every tweet, every Facebook post. I am watching every single pre-fight interview. I'm watching every single training segment I can get a hold of. And I'm going to get the fight 100%. If I am not at the fight, I am going to be getting this fight. I will be watching this fight at home for sure. It's just one of those things where I'm going to complain about it, but I'm complaining about it and going, here, just take more of my money. Just take more of my money. I want you to have all of it.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm the same way. I'm complaining about it as well, but I'll be watching the McGregor fight too, yeah. And like I said, getting back to that Dana thing real quick, yeah, it's amazing because Dana, he's a knowledgeable guy, and most of the time he's okay. I think he's real. He's realistic. He speaks his mind. He's not afraid to add it. So I respect that with him, but I'm just surprised. I understand. I guess there was the booze and the people in the audience with the cell phones waving it all over for the Woodley-Maia fight and all that stuff. So I get it from a promoter's perspective. You want the fights to be maybe a little bit more fan-friendly and exciting, but I thought that was a masterpiece performance from Woodley. I really do. I think that was one of his most impressive wins in his career. I mean, career-defining performance. So Woodley's been A1. But, I mean, similarities, like you said, this could be a boring matchup between Pettis and Moreno. Getting back to that a little bit. Yeah. I mean, because they are so technical, they are so good. Now, I think Pettis is the more technical of the two, though. I mean, Pettis is going to probably be the calm one. He's going to kind of keep like himself patient. He'll steady himself a little bit. And I think on the feet, he is a little bit more technical. He's going to have to be careful, though, because, again, he's been rocked. He's been knocked out. Well, he's been, rocked and then skidded. So his chin has definitely been tested, and it's a little suspect. And Moreno's aggression and power, that could lead him to being rocked again and submitted real quick as well. So I think what I see in this fight, if it ends early, it's probably going to be Moreno maybe finishing Pettis early on, right? Okay. But if it goes a little bit longer, I think if he hits the scorecards, Pettis is going to win. I like Pettis' cardio a little bit more. I just think IQ-wise, everything across the board, he's just more prepared, and he's just, at this point of his career, I think he's just a little bit further ahead of Moreno. But that doesn't mean Moreno cannot win this fight. He is the more dangerous fighter. I think he does have enough takedown game, too, that we've seen in the past. Even though Pettis, you're right, he does have great takedown defense. He's been put on his back, though, still. Yeah. And I think is the type of guy that he's going to be relentless with that takedown game a little bit. So we could see Pettis end up on his back at times. I don't know how long he's going to stay there, but that he's got to be careful, though. I think these guys can submit each other. I mean, that's how good they both are on the ground as well. So one mistake can end it either way, but I think it's more realistic with if Moreno wins, it's more likely inside, and if Pettis wins, it's probably on the scorecards or even maybe a round 3, round 4, round 5 finish if Moreno starts gassing out a little bit, because this is going to be a big test for him. I mean, again, he's still young, he's still a little raw, and he's made it this far already by finishing the guys that he has. Yeah. So he's definitely worthy of this shot, but there's still some question marks around him. So if he doesn't get this fight done early, if I bet him, if I laid the chalk, I would be sweating this fight if it goes in round 3, round 4, round 5, because I think that Pettis does have the advantage there. So you got to be careful. That's why you can't bet this fight either. Again, I mean, it's one of those situations where I don't think it's very smart to go lay the chalk against a high-caliber guy like Pettis, Sergio Pettis, that's going to be in a fight, even though, I mean, Moreno should be the favorite here because, like I said, the danger he possesses and what he's accomplished recently, he's been a little bit more impressive than Pettis. But laying that kind of chalk, I don't know. I would stay away from it, or it's a dog or pass situation. So we have two similar situations here. I mean, we really do. With Markos, it's a dog or pass situation, or in the main event, it's a dog or pass situation. Now, of course, I don't think both dogs come through here. So, you know what I mean? Probably if you're looking at it, I'm sure we're going to see, the Markos fight hit the scorecards. So judging, you never know which way those guys are going to go. Even if to us, it's clear one way, you might see a 30-27 the other way. Who knows? So there's always a question mark there. So I'm sure one of these favorites is going to win, but both of these dogs have a bite, I think, a little bit. They got a shot to win this. And if you split, really, if you bet both, if you put a little bit of money on both dogs and you go 1-1, you're still going to make money. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Even amounts on them, you know what I mean? So if you put one unit, say, for example, on each fighter, then, you're going to end up profiting at least a half a unit or whatever the case may be on the plus side. So it's not a bad idea. And again, this card from top to bottom is not a good one for betting, man. I mean, this is one of those cards that I think you get burned on because there's just so many of those up-and-coming fighters that are still developing that are kind of in between fights are getting better, and you can't really, count on how much do these guys improve. You're seeing a lot of these Latin America fighters that after they left the tough show, they went to gyms like Mike Jackson's camp. They went to gyms like AKA. They went to gyms like Alliance. And you know what? Those gyms are going to make you better, especially training that they were getting before. You know what I mean? Before. So guys with potential have made it to the bigger gyms, and now these bigger gyms are turning these guys into contenders, into like better fighters overall. I mean, they're doing a great job with some of this talent. So that's another aspect you got to take in consideration here. How much improvement do these guys have in between fights? I think some of these guys are going to, with the youth factor and everything that they're learning, man, I mean, they could show up and be way above and beyond, what we've seen last fight from them. So a lot of question marks there. I would take it easy from top to bottom on this card and just kind of watch it, see how it plays out. Pick your spots, just kind of bet this one more for fun than anything else because it's really hard to get a true advantage on any of these from top to bottom, to be honest with you. I
agree, Nick. I mean, there's three people on here taking getting their UFC debut, which, we have a lot of knowledge of who they are and what's going on outside the organization, but they've never fought for the UFC. Now you have to add in UFC jitters, UFC, how long has it been since their last fight? Because sometimes you sign with the UFC and then you got to wait a few months before you actually get a fight. There's a lot of other factors that come into involvement when you're getting these debuts. So, definitely be careful with your betting this time around. There's enough fights coming on the rest of the year that you'll be able to make it up if you have a certain amount you like to bet every fight and you don't do it on this one, you can make it up in a later fight. Trust me, there'll be enough going on. So that's it for this week here on Before the Bell. Welcome back to MMA Oddsmaker. I really appreciate it. That's Nick Kalikas. I'm Frank Trigg. Of course, we're here every week breaking down the UFC Fight Night cards and the UFC pay-per-view cards. We'll see you again next week. Enjoy it.